Julius Avery, congratulations on Son of a Gun. A terrific, tight, tense, exciting, balls-to-the-wall action heist movie. Is that a fair description?
It sounds awesome when you say that. Yeah, I would like that description to be out there. Thank you.
Well, how would you describe the film?
You know, I set out to make a film that was entertaining and intense, and we tried to make a film that had action in it that felt like it was on an international level. Because I think people, you know, they pay a lot of money to go see a film nowadays, and they want to just they want to sit back and escape for a while. But I also wanted to tap into what Australia does really well. They have these amazing rhythms and vibe you can't get in Hollywood films, and the humour that we have, our own subtle humour, that I think also on an international level people love, and that's why they're attracted to our films.
It's a very robust, confidently made film. Is there an underlying motive behind wanting to make this type of movie at this particular time?
No, I'm just a bit of a fanboy myself. Like I think we all go back to what we loved as a child.
Yep.
And I lost my father when I was 6, and I was looking for father figures, and I found them in film and movies. I had a local milk bar that we had an account with. That's showing my age. Basically, Mum would send me down to get some milk, but I would sneak in 5 weeklies into the shopping bag, and I always I'd seek out really macho films that were starring Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, all those type of films. And so I just kind of wanted to make a film that kind of spoke to those adventures that I had as a kid through films.
Yeah, because on one level the film does follow and respect all the great conventions of your heist thriller, with the tension and the mood building and the action. But underscoring all that is the dramatic core of the film, which relates to what you just said about you and your father. Can you just describe to us the dramatic core of this film and how it relates to you personally?
When I was a teenager, I started hanging out with the wrong crowd, and this man came into my life. He was a very Machiavellian, kind of Fagin, very charismatic type character who had myself and other kids in the neighbourhood working for him, doing odd jobs. And so I fell under that spell, and that's why when I was thinking of who was going to play Brendan, I knew that Ewan would be the right guy, because he has this charm about him. He has this kind of way about him that he grooms and makes people feel special. And that's how this kind of relationship I had with this man made me feel. For the first time, I felt accepted, and I belonged to a brotherhood, I guess.
Actually, what difference did that make getting him on board in terms of getting this made?
Well, yeah, financed the film. The budget would have never been. We would have probably had to have gone and made a more Animal Kingdom version of this movie, and probably I wouldn't been interested in that.
You're also speaking to the issue of the father-son relationships that we see in Snowtown, and we also see it in an American film called Blue Capri, and you mentioned the Oliver Twist reference there, and it's very strong in your film, where the attraction to a father figure is regardless of legality or morality. They're simply drawn to someone who is powerful and who will protect them and who will show, fatherly instincts. It seems that is recognised before any issue of legality or morality or anything like that, which you address in the film, because the character then comes around.
Yeah, I guess the character of Brendan, which Ewan plays, is the father I never had. He is bad, but he has an honour code. He has a code about him that is very, alluring. I've been searching my whole life to understand what a real man is. I'm a father now myself, and I still don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. And I guess characters like Brendan exist in the real world. And there is a very strong tradition, in the criminal underworld, of young men getting a mentorship from older criminals and taking them under their wing. There was a young guy that I brought in who was very similar to the character of JR, who went to the prison we shot in, who went in the system at 19, and I brought him in to tell his story to Brenton Thwaites, to kind of get him to understand that this story is actually quite believable and real and exists,
I want to know whether the drama came first before the ideas for the action. Was this motivated pretty much by telling that father-son story?
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to get that codependent mentor-apprentice, father-son relationship working before I laid all the action and all the fun, exciting stuff. I wanted to get that heartbeat strong. And I think that came from this relationship I had as a teenager. And I wrote a letter to Ewan to that effect. I sent him the script, but I sent him this very personal letter of my story and this relationship. And, you know, that vulnerability that I showed him just allowed Ewan to then feel like he could then bring quite a, you know, he's so different in this film. Like, I think people are going to be surprised. He's really kind of, I think, going to a dark place. I think that he went to that place because he saw that there was a heart that he could tap into. And so, yeah, we wanted to figure that out early on. And I took that idea to Tim White, and he brought the commerciality to it, and with John Colley, who was my script consultant, and they helped me build the commercial side of things, but retain that relationship and that kernel of that idea.
So you signed off on a finished script before you started shooting?
Yes.
Yeah.
We took it to the market at Cannes in 2012, and we went through the development process at Screen Australia, and you know, anyone that's been in that system can feel a level of frustration because everyone feels their script is read in the first draft. And it never usually is.
I'm so glad that you say that, because, and I do apologise if that question sounds like really basic, but believe me, I have sat through so many films where it's so obvious they didn't finish the screenplay properly before they started shooting. So look, that's why I ask.
I'm not going to shy away from the conventions which we follow.
Nor should you.
I feel like we've tried to tell a story that hits beats that is familiar, but I think it's about surrounding those beats with a world we haven't seen before. And I think people haven't seen this world.
Why did you get defensive just then? Why get defensive about making a strong, character-driven, plot-driven genre piece?
I'm not. I embrace it. I guess I'm just kind of. I feel like there may be a few people out there that might feel that this is a little conventional for them. I don't want to be apologetic for making a film like this in Australia. You know, there needs to be a certain type of film which pleases, you know, your sort of regular folk, and I think you know, you've got to listen to the audience, and I think this is the type of film where, again, I think, you know, we're so earnest, and we're so, like, you know, we've got to be making important films, and, you know, and be so caught up in that, but also, how about the stuff that you used to watch as a kid and just have fun, you know? And that's the sort of film I wanted to make. We knew this was going to be an ambitious film. You know, it was a budget that you don't usually have when you're a first time filmmaker, but we set out to do something quite commercial, and so we needed a budget to facilitate that. We went over to West Australia to shoot this in remote locations, and, you know, we thought we had enough money, but we didn't. And it was I think, you know, through limitations, it makes you you just have to think on your feet. Like, a lot of people think, oh, 10 million plus it's you know, a lot of money. For this type of film, it's not. It's quite, you know, I've been to America, and they go, how much did you make this film? And I said, you know, like around 10, and they go, oh my god, how did you do that? And they have no, because it's like
cab fare on a big Hollywood production.
They think it's like, you know, it's a $30 million film, and that's a great compliment, because, you know, I think, like, the guys who did Mad Max and did all those sort of films, like, you know, George Miller, and the people he was involved with, they didn't have a big budget, but they made it feel dangerous and exciting. And I think that's the thing I think you get out of this.
Now, what kind of marketing push is it getting here? Because one of the complaints of a lot of Australian films is not so much that the films aren't good, but is that people didn't know that it was out to go see. So how do you feel about the marketing behind this movie in Australia?
I think unless it's a Hollywood film, I think a lot of local distributors are relying so much on social media and getting the word out that way. They're reluctant to put things on bus shelters and do much TV spend. And, you know, even though our film was set out to be a wider audience film, you know, they're doing a sort of a platform release, and it'll, you know, hit 60 screens to begin with in the first week, and then go out once the word of mouth has happened. And I think, like, you know, in some ways that's fair enough, because there has been some films of recent that have fallen over with the big wide release, and so I mean, I don't want to get too involved in all that, but I think
Sure.
you know, I think it's an interesting time, like where we have to be open to different release strategies anyway. Like in America they've got the VOD, then theatrical release sort of model, which is interesting. Now
that I've just got you here, let me just quickly just ask you this and get this on the record. I too often see Australian films that, if they were the exact same film but American, would make $5, $6, $7, $8 million in Australia without question because of the TV advertising.
Yeah.
I often feel that Australian films, if they had the same level of exposure on good old-fashioned television, that they would do similar business. What is your view of that statement and of the importance of TV advertising?
Well, it's tricky because we have a film that's not getting any TV spend, and we have a film that we believe is a very commercial film that could potentially go out on 150, 200 screens in Australia and find an audience. This particular film, like maybe not for other films but this particular film, I feel that type of spend would have been awesome. But I just think there's so much nervousness around Australian content right now. But the funny thing is, there isn't internationally. They love our films. They love them.
Why is this? Please, Julius, help me. Explain this to me.
I don't know. I don't know. Like, because Australians do seek out like US films and foreign films. They just I don't know. Like, I feel maybe they see a trailer and they don't, and then they go and see the film. It may not be as what it lived up to be or whatever. But I don't know. Like with our film, we made a trailer that's got a bunch of action, and you're not getting lied to. But I don't know. I feel like the Australian audience, they want to be entertained. They want some escapism, and I think we whether it be like a comedy that makes you laugh and makes you feel elated at the end, or a film like ours which thrills you and twists you and turns you, and I think we just want to be entertained.
What kind of industry do you want to see? You're a young filmmaker. Tell us what kind of industry you want to grow into.
I want to make I want to make films that speak to a international audience, wide audience, not just for Australians. Like I think we have a really unique setting and like rhythms, and our actors are amazing, and our crews are amazing. I just think we're just a little apologetic of we and we have this fear of the tall poppy and all that sort of stuff. So it's kind of like
you're not saying the word, but the word is cringe. We still have cringe in this country.
Yes.
You're a young filmmaker. You should be past a generation. That should have been like a generation ago. You shouldn't have to worry about that kind of stuff. Can you make any sense as to why you are still worrying about this stupid issue of cultural cringe in Australia?
I don't know. Maybe it's because we're so remote and we're an island away from the world. I don't know. But with the world where we opened up with the internet and God, why am I talking about the internet? I don't know, Grandpa. Anyway, so we've opened up, and in terms of what I feel is the next generation is for films in Australia, because I was touching on that before. The international audience love Australian content. We need to release at the same time everywhere, and then I feel like that will be the key to kind of like if sometimes we need other people from another country in Australia to be told, hey, this is good, and embrace it. But it's hardly. I feel like I'm floundering here because it's a difficult question, but I feel like personally, the more films that you make that speak to a kind of an audience, a wider audience, the better. I'm
going to say it again. Congratulations on a terrific, tight, tense, exciting, balls-to-the-wall action heist movie, and may you make many, many more.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, mate. Best of success with the film.
Cheers. Thank you.